But we start with Hawkeye, episode number 4. Kate brings Clint home to meet the family, spend some time with Mom and Jack. After he leaves and promises to keep her safe, Kate's mom makes a mysterious phone call. Clint speaks to his wife about finding a tracker in the watch that was seen at the auction. Clint and Kate devise a plan to get his trick arrows back and talk to Causey. And in Clint's conversation with Causey, he references the big guy, which we are left to believe at this point that it is Kingpin, and tries to get Causey to talk Maya out of her revenge hunt for Ronan. They track the Rolex to an apartment, and Kate goes after it, only to set off silent alarms due to the fact that it is Maya's apartment. She and Maya tussle while an unknown party attacks Clint on the rooftop adjacent. The brawl continues out onto the rooftop, and Clint attempts to get Kate out, but like a bad case of herpes, she keeps coming back. Maya flees, and the unknown assassin is revealed to be Yelena, and Clint impresses upon Kate just how real the situation has gotten in that someone has hired a Black Widow assassin. Hawkeye episode number 4, your thoughts?
I mean, getting Yelena aside, getting my girl Florence Pugh aside in this episode, and that was awesome. It was very quick, and it was completely spoiled to me. I was not even looking for anything this related, and someone who I didn't even know watched this show had posted this, and I got mad. So yeah, that was.
I mean, we all knew
weird.
She was coming, though.
We knew she was coming. I just didn't know it was this episode, and
right.
So, but the setup to all that was really cool. I said, every week it seems like each episode gets better, and this for me continued that trend. The partnership was getting better, even though now it's Clint saying like, "Hey, you got to get out of this, Kate. Like, this is a real deal. Like, now this is real deal stuff." So their relationship was getting better, but then, because of Clint's conversation with Kate's mom, Kate's mom, it forced him to be like, well, we got all these scrapes and bruises. Now things can actually become more than scrapes and bruises. And so he has to just basically kick Kate out of this, and she's not pleased. And it became very real. It had this almost, big brother, little sister kind of relationship, more than like father-daughter relationship at first. Now it becomes more of a father-daughter relationship. And I think the show is very real, which we've talked about before, because of the fact that Clint is very real. And, he's just accurate, but he's still just a person at the end of the day. And now it's come to this point where the threats become more than, he feels Kate can handle at this point. And maybe not even that necessarily that she can handle it. He doesn't want to be the reason that she dies. And I think that's really cool. I think there's this of all these shows so far, this one's the most emotional in the good and bad ways. I think for me, at least, and the reason why I say this is because these are two people. This isn't, this isn't a person that has superhuman powers and essentially, a robot that has feelings. And, not to downplay that, because we love that show too. We love WandaVision. But this actually felt like there's an actual connection. Like I said, it's more of a father-daughter relationship now than it was at the beginning. And so I think it's very cool. It's a very emotional show. We only have 2 more episodes left, so I'll be interested to see which direction they go, because I love it. And at this point, with the way it's trending, like I said last week, and I'll continue this trend until I'm wrong, it's my favorite of these shows, as long as it does the trend that it gets better and it has an emotional grip. And it also just goes by very quickly too. I think we had talked about Loki sometimes would drag a little, and this does not drag at all. I mean, when it's over, I'm always like, wow, that was quick. And they're not short episodes, really.
No.
They just go by very quickly, because there's a lot of, when there's dialogue, it's snappy and it's funny just enough, but not too funny. It's not trying to be too funny like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's in that perfect range of, like, in WandaVision had that too. Dialogue's just snappy and good enough without being too smart for the room.
Yeah, I think just to piggyback on some of the things that you said, the show does continue to get better with each episode, and I haven't felt the desire to, I need the next thing right now since WandaVision.
Yeah.
I got to the point with Falcon and the Winter Soldier that it was just like, okay, this is fine. I'm not necessarily like frothing at the mouth for the next episode. And there were times with Loki where I don't want to say dreading watching the next episode, because I don't think it was like that, but it was kind of in the sense of, I'm not excited about this at all. I do think that we're in the minority with that. I think with the Loki thing.
Oh, and People Choice winner.
Yeah, I mean, it was all over the place. And it was, for us, I think it was not as, we don't hold the popular opinion, I would say, with Loki. But this show has, from day one, from the first episode, from the first 10 minutes, has just been nonstop. I need the next thing now.
Yeah.
But I do think, whereas like, with Cowboy Bebop that we'll talk about later, I binge watched 10 episodes of that in 48 hours. I do like the weekly releases because it keeps you invested. It keeps you wanting more. You know what I mean? I've had a hard time with Cowboy Bebop doing the reviews because I watched it and left it in the rearview mirror. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with this, it's so much of, appointment viewing. I think that this show probably won't get enough credit for showing the downside of being an Avenger. You know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
We've talked about the physical toll that it's taken, the hearing aid, the aches and pains, that sort of thing. But I also think that it delves very heavily into the PTSD aspect that Clint's dealing with, especially when he had that moment towards the end of the episode where Kate's dangling and he's reaching for her. Like that was killer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that I do think that the show is doing very well at striking the delicate balance between funny, action, giving you all the things that Marvel is known for giving you, but then also showing the human side of it. And I think that, like, because there's probably not going to be some of the really emotional moments like there were in WandaVision, I think that people will not look as favorably on this series. But I'm with you that right now it's minimum neck and neck between those two, and between Hawkeye and WandaVision. And I think that, if the last two episodes delivers on the promise, that it could pass it up. And I've said this before, I wonder how much of that is the fact that Clint is one of the original six. And there is almost, 10 years, almost 10 years since Marvel's The Avengers, 2012.
Right. That's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like we've had, and Clint showed up in 4, so it's been 10 years since we kind of got to know him, but there's almost a nostalgia for that character. With that all being said, I think we have to make some predictions regarding, I think we're all on board with the big guy is Kingpin.
Yeah.
Especially given the news, and we'll talk about later, that Daredevil is returning to the MCU and the significance of Maya Echo and who that character's been brought up by. So I think that we're all on board with the fact that that's King. Well, the theory that is Kingpin. Who do you think the watch belongs to?
That I was like,
because he said the explanation was it's somebody who's been out of the game for a while, and if this watch gets found,
that was the thing. I was like, I was going through it, and I didn't want to like read on like the spoilers. I was afraid to read it because I didn't want to like spoil myself actually going forward.
Right.
And I honestly, and I'm just being honest, I couldn't think of who has been out of the game that maybe we've met. And if it's someone we haven't met, I was like, well, now I don't,
have any clue.
Yeah. I have no clue on this one, which I like. I love
Right.
that because normally I feel like I have some sort of wavelength on it, and even if I'm wrong, I like have this time I was like, I don't know, because there's not a character that to me it makes sense, but
Right.
which is great. What do you think, Brenton?
It's tough because the watch was found in the rubble of the Avengers complex. So
Right.
that points to it being someone who is an Avenger, or at least was an Avenger at some point. That had, because my first thought was honestly probably Nick Fury. Because he's been out of it a little bit. He's, he did the Spider-Man thing. He's been, hit or miss. After the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Winter Soldier, he's kind of been a ghost. Then you learn, that maybe he's been a Skrull, whatever. But I don't think that that's it. And I can't think of anybody else who would rock a Rolex other than Tony Stark.
Right.
But I mean, he's not somebody that's been out of the game that's coming back.
Right. He's been out of the game because he's not coming back. Yeah. I thought
I have no other theory.
Right. And that's
Mephisto.
That's what I think also what is really good about this show is even when I did eventually look a little bit on the internet has no idea either.
Right.
And I think that's what made this great is that this show seems the least predictable because it's not the space Avenger stuff where there's all those characters.
Right.
This is a storyline that a lot of people probably just never read Hawkeye to begin with, but also it's just not a storyline that people got into a lot, other than that Jeremy Renner is really good at this character and made him very likable.
Right.
I mean, there's a world out there where Jeremy Renner isn't Hawkeye and no one gives a crap, but Jeremy Renner just nails it. And that's what I think what made it my fear. And I have the same thing. Like you said, I have a fear, and I'm going to steal a line from CT is I have a fear that this show might get lost in the sauce because we're getting Spider-Man and then we're just getting everything out in space. And we don't have anything space or in the multiverse. Yeah. And so we don't have anything grounded again for a while until we get, another Captain America movie. Yeah. And
She-Hulk series stuff, but no movies.
No movies. And so I feel like there, the series, that's great. But in the sense of that, now we're hitting Spider-Man and then we're getting, Doctor Strange and Thor. We're getting so many things that are just, and I don't mean this in a negative sense, but they're just bigger. And this show might get a little bit forgotten when other people start talking about things, but hopefully it doesn't. I hope it doesn't because I really have enjoyed it. And I think it's a good spot because it came in between the Eternals and Spider-Man too. Spider-Man as well.
Right. I think that this show is not going to garner the critical praise that WandaVision did, because it's kind of a by the numbers Marvel thing. But I think that is actually exactly what it needed to be. Yeah, I think it is a perfect Marvel property, perfect Marvel story.
Yep.
What have you? I think that it is perfect for what Marvel, it's almost to me like it almost feels like a phase 1 or like a phase 2 even.
Yeah.
Like movie, storyline, because there isn't, aliens and magic, basically. You know what I mean? It's just ground and pound, like Captain America, like Iron Man, like Ant-Man, all that stuff. And so I think that and this has been my fear moving forward after Loki, is they want to do so much and everything has to interconnect with everything. I think that they've to an extent lost what made some of that early stuff really special.
Right.
And that is grounded, it's not grounded in the same way that the Nolan Batman movies were.
Well,
but it's grounded in the sense of there's not aliens and wizards.
Right.
So I mean, I'm really excited moving forward. I did see somewhere, there wasn't any spoilers involved, but I did see somewhere that said that episode 5 will set the internet on fire. So looking forward to that. I do think it's probably going to be the reveal of Kingpin. That's my guess.
Yeah.
But maybe they don't reveal him at all. That's the other thing, is that we've been wrong about just about everything since these
And
series
we
started.
when you say we, not just you and me, the
Everybody,
internet.
yes.
Everybody's been wrong.
Yeah. Mephisto, Doctor Strange. Who else? War Machine was going to come to the rescue at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Loki. There wasn't really as much stuff to predict there. It was actually fairly predictable. But everything's been... There's been so many fan theories. None of them have been right. I will give Marvel credit for that, keeping everybody on their toes for sure.
Yeah. They're good at it.
I'm looking forward. Definitely.